Synopsis of the Books of the Bible. Ezra. By JND Darby. All Scripture is given by inspiration of God, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. 2 Timothy 3 verses 16 and 17. Synopsis of the Books of the Bible. By John Nelson Darby. Ezra. Introduction. God's threat fulfilled, kingly power in Gentile hands. The events which we have been considering, at the close of Kings and Chronicles, were deeply significant. The throne of God was no longer at Jerusalem. God had fulfilled his threat of casting off the city which he had chosen. He had bestowed the throne of the earth upon the Gentiles. Daniel 2 verse 37. Not only had Israel failed under the old covenant, and rejected God, 1 Samuel 8 verse 7, so that God was no longer their king, but even after grace had raised up the house of David to sustain the relations of the people with God, under the rule of that house everything was entirely corrupted by sin, so that there was no more remedy, and God had written "Lo me, not my people," as it were, on the forehead of a people who had forsaken him. The counsels of God cannot fail, but such was the sad state in which the relationship between these people and God stood, if it can be said that a judgment like this allowed any relationship still to exist. So far as it depended on Israel, on man, all was lost. The consequences of this, with respect to God's dealings, were of great importance. They were nothing less than his taking his throne from the earth, casting off his people for the time as to his earthly government, and transferring power to the Gentiles. Man, in probation under the law, had failed, and he was condemned. He had been sustained in the way of grace through means which God had granted, in the family of David, for his continuance in the enjoyment of the blessings granted him, and he had failed again. Kingly power was in the hands of the Gentiles, and the people were under condemnation according to the old covenant.